Hello, my name is Nicholas Canoe from the E101 group, Mach 5. Today I'm going to be talking about how we implemented the design cycle in our group project. When we first started our project, we knew that we would need to use a design cycle. It really helped us get on track and kept us focused on our end goal. The first step in the design cycle is to define the problem. That was fairly easy. We needed to create a small canoe made out of concrete. Having identified the problem, we moved on to the second step, searching for solutions. We knew that we would need the canoe to be lighter than the water it displaced. So we went to the drawing board. Concrete is very heavy, so we considered various ways to lighten the material and other ways to strengthen it so that we could apply it in a very thin layer. We did some research and discovered various materials that might be useful, including the use of sand and perlite as aggregate, and glue and fiberglass tape for strength. The next step in the process is to narrow and select. We mixed various mixtures of these materials and formed small patties, which we then tested for strength and weight. We chose to use a combination of perlite with concrete and glue, with a covering of fiberglass tape, because we found this to be the best combination of strength and light weight. The next step was to build the canoe. We did this by cutting a foam block into a mold and applied the concrete mixture over the foam. Once dried, we removed the foam. The final step is to test and check. We tested and checked for buoyancy and strength. During this check, we discovered the vessel was oversized. This resulted from our not being able to apply the concrete as thinly and evenly as we had planned. We had to once again search for solutions. We discussed various possibilities, including sanding it down and building a new boat. Ultimately, we decided to cut the boat in half and remove a 3/8 inch sliver. Then we glued it back together. Once again, we tested and checked the boat for buoyancy, strength, and size, and found that it met all the requirements. Lastly, we painted the boat and decorated it with NC State colors, and now we have a beautiful finished work of art.
Our project fared pretty well at Freshman Engineering Design Day. We were able to win our competition by a relatively large margin. Our canoe held just about 5,200 grams, while the second place canoe held around 3,000 grams. Our canoe had some minor balancing issues in the beginning, and it appeared it was going to capsize, but once it started getting a little bit of weight into the boat, it kind of balanced itself out and was able to hold a lot of weight.
Although we did win the Concrete Canoe Challenge, there are still a numerous amount of things we could have improved upon. One being time management. It is imperative to begin the week it is assigned. This project can seem deceiving because there is a lot of trial and error involved. What can start out as a 2-week project can turn into a 2-month one very quickly. Also, it is very important to begin to gather in materials at the day it is assigned as well. Finally, delegate the roles of gathering materials, planning out the project to each member of the group to further facilitate the completion of the project.
For the freshmen who choose to do the concrete canoe next year, one of the biggest things I can recommend for you is to start on time. Joe mentioned this earlier, but it's pretty important, so I'm going to say it again. Time management. Don't get behind, because if you do, it can be a real big problem because the concrete takes time to set and you eventually run out of time. Even though it seems like you have forever, you don't really. Specifically for the canoe, the type of concrete is really important. There's different kinds. Some are thicker, some are thin, some set dry faster than the others. You want to get one that has as little rocks and pebbles as possible. The fast setting kind worked pretty well. For the dimensions of the canoe, that's another big thing. You don't want to go over the dimensions, but you want to get as close to it as possible. So when you make your mold or your frame for it, you want to leave room for the concrete to expand when it dries. Another thing for the size of the canoe, you want to make the walls as thin as possible. So if they make them too thick, it adds unneeded weight, and it's less marbles that your canoe will hold the competition. The last piece of advice I have is the symmetry. Matt mentioned that earlier too, that when we put the boat in the water, it didn't float straight, kind of leaned really bad to one side, and it almost sunk. So you want to make the hull as symmetrical as possible. That way it doesn't flip over when you put it in the water.